Hello all, it's been a while, but welcome back to Consciousness Rising, episode 16. As promised, this one's on natural law, and I'm going to jump straight into it because I think this will probably be my longest video. There's quite a lot of slides to get through. Um, it took me a while to get this one together, but I'm glad I did because now we're talking about universal law, and it's, as I said before, it's the most occulted piece of knowledge, and people need to learn it and get in line with it because then things will change. But we're going to get straight on with it. So, what is natural law? Natural law is universal, non-man made, binding, and immutable conditions that govern the consequences of behaviour. Natural law is a body of universal spiritual laws which act as the governing dynamics of consciousness. It is not man's law, which is subject to change wherever you bloody go, basically. It's not law of the jungle, survival of the fittest, any of that stuff. That's different. We're not talking about that. We are talking about universal laws that are in effect all the time and everyone is bound to it. Everything in the universe is bound to these laws whether you like it or not. So, you know, people can bitch and scream about that, but that's just the way it is, and we need to learn to live in accordance with it rather than fight it, which is what's been going on. Aligning with truth. Truth is objective. It is not subjective. This means that it is not based on the perceptions of human beings. Truth is simply that which is. Therefore, it is our job to learn and align our souls or ourselves with it. Truth does not change. Yes, we can discover it. Many have been dissuaded against that and been, conditioned that you can't learn the truth. It's something that's not, there is no objective truth. Yes, there is. It's our job, one of our jobs, I believe, when we come into this life and when we incarnate into this dimension, is to discover it for ourselves and align with it. And then life becomes much more easier. Um, you live much more in balance, and ultimately it leads to freedom. And truth is if you say I don't like religion, but if I had if you asked me what my religion was, I serve truth. That is it. That's the only thing I serve. I serve truth and myself. And I've, done a lot of work in my life to get to this understanding. Travis Walton, this is a brilliant quote from him. I've come to realise that the biggest problem anywhere in the world is that people's perceptions of reality are compulsively filtered through the screening mesh of what they want and do not want to be true. What a phenomenal quote. And Mark Passio used this quote in his natural law slides. And actually, I should have said that at the beginning, but I've took a lot of his work and condensed it down. He does like a 9-hour presentation on natural law, and as I've said to you before, he's a great inspiration to me. But I'm doing, I'm breaking things down even further into short videos for you to consider. But I highly recommend going and checking out Mark Passio's work because natural law really is at the centre of it all. And indeed, this is where I wanted to get to in my videos, so I'm glad that I've got here finally. But yeah, one of the biggest problems that humanity has is they do not understand how to decipher truth from falsehood, and that's why we're in such a mess. And I just think that quote is absolutely brilliant. Um, Really good quote that. Another one by Soren Kierkegaard. There are two ways to be fooled. One is to believe what is not true. The other is to refuse to accept what is true. Wow, do we see that everywhere now? The refusal of truth. I said that in a previous one of my rants, didn't I, recently? That for the average sort of normal person now, you could slam textbooks of evidence. You could give them all the stats, all the statistics, all the videos. They'll watch them, they'll consume it, and they'll still not believe it because they are in a state of refusal to accept the truth. Well, good luck with that if you're in that level of consciousness because you've elected the way of pain, ultimate pain and suffering, and it's unnecessary. Um, but, and also like the truthers, stop trying to wake people up. I don't mean that, in all ways, shapes and forms. Do it in video form like this. Put the truth out there by all means, but stop trying to ram it down people's throats because they ain't going to listen. These people are soul dead. And all it does is stress you out anyway. So, I don't, if I'm around family members and things get brought up, I've tried that way. I've tried to wake them up. I've tried to show them evidence. I've tried to send them videos. I've tried all that. It doesn't work. It simply doesn't work. So, and ultimately, if they want to be like that, let them. Unfortunately, it does affect us all, but you got to respect someone else's, right to believe what they want to believe. But it's frustrating, I know. But it's like with this vaccine, right? I'm not taking the vaccine ever because I own my body and I know I've done the research and I don't want it. But ultimately, you have to also let go of people that do want it because um, ultimately it comes down to natural law, which is what this slide's on, which I'll go into. But if they own their body and they want to put that toxin inside them, let them do it. Yes, it's upsetting if it's your family, but they own their body and they have the right to choose that. I'll go on to talk about that more as the video goes on, but yeah, you have to realise that. So, natural law principles. There are 8 of them, and the first 7 are they're there. The principle of mentalism, the principle of correspondence, the principle of vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. That one there that's misnumbered. I should say 8th, because the 8th principle lies outside of that, and it's the loss principle or the generative principle. And the reason I've put it outside is because a lot of people don't include it, but it is the one that binds all the others together. And but I'll get to that in a minute. So I'll break these down really quickly. I'm not going to go really deeply into them. If you want more information on these, read the Kybalion. It's a great book with occulted knowledge on it. Mentalism. The all is mind. Everything, as I've said before, starts in mind, then manifests through emotions, and then finally actions. Therefore, the universe is mental. Thoughts are that which evidently create our experience here on Earth, because thoughts turn into actions. It's like when you create something, like I've said before, the guy that created the wheel didn't just sit there, bang a load of stuff together and go, oh, there's a wheel. There was a thought process. The idea came to him, whether that was inspired by external forces, that's a different matter. But everything starts in mind. The universe is mental. That's the principle of mentalism. Like I say, I'm just skimming these. Correspondence, as above, so below. The macrocosm, which means the very large, the totality, and the microcosm, which means the very small, the individual units which comprise the whole, are reflections of each other. The universe is holographic and self-similar across all scales. Where you look at fractals and that, you see these things where you get like the shells on a beach and it reflects like the pattern of the universe. You look into that; it's really good fractal stuff. But and that's what human beings are. We have the universe inside us, just as we are inside the universe. So as above, so below. That's the principle of correspondence. Vibration. Everything is vibration. Nothing rests in the universe. Matter is merely energy in a state of vibration. Nothing is truly solid. I've spoke about that before, haven't I, when I talked about atoms. The more you break down an atom, you come to realise that at its core is an energy vortex that is vibrating at a certain frequency. And that's what you are. When you walk this physical world and you have this physical shell, you are still consciousness, which is energy, slowed down to a particular vibration field so you can live within this vibrations field on this planet. This planet has its own vibration field, and I believe that all other planets do as well. So there is life on other planets, but they're in a different vibration. Thus, we can't see them with our limited one. So everything in the universe, nothing is at rest, ever. Everything's moving. Polarity. Everything is dual in nature. Everything has within it its pair of opposites. Opposites are identical in nature, but different in degree. For example, I've put an example there. Hot and cold aren't really different. They're actually the same thing. Energy or lack thereof. So heat or lack thereof. So they have within it the same thing. Well, dual. They're dual. Everything is dual in nature. Everything. Literally everything in the universe. These are all universal laws. Rhythm. Everything has its flow out and its flow in, like the tide of the sea. All things rise and fall. Rhythm compensates the other swing. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. I've added at the bottom there, rhythm can be altered by consciousness and is not set in stone. Some people falsely claim that we are caught up in the rhythm and there is nothing we can do about it. That is false. With enough willpower and consciousness, as I've said before in videos, you are a co-creator with the universe. Yes, the universe has its rhythms that we get swept along in, but with enough consciousness, you can change and alter that rhythm. Cause and effect. I've got a few slides on this because this one's quite a deep one. Every cause has its effect, and every effect has its cause. Everything happens according to law. Chance is but a name for law not recognised. That's right. Chance is just something we don't understand. There are many planes of causation, but nothing escapes the law. So, many causes, but all have effects. And every effect has its cause. Okay, it's broken up into two different planes, which I'm going to hopefully show you here through imagery and what I say. The plane of effects, which is the physical world, okay? This is where human consciousness is mostly trapped. The effects we see in our manifested reality are due to their underlying causes, okay? The problem that we have as a species is that our beliefs and our mental attitudes are wrong and not in alignment with natural law. So therefore, that's why you get chaos. These effects constitute that which has already occurred, which is the cause. Therefore, no power to affect change lies here. And I've underlined that. That's so important. You cannot change the physical world in the physical world. You have to go to the root cause, which is where so many videos go wrong. They talk about the symptoms. They talk about the blooming Rothschilds and the Rockefellers and all these people and Bill Gates and that. I'm not interested in that. I'm interested in what's, as humanity, what is wrong in our plane of course, our causal plane, which is the next plane I'm going to talk about. What's wrong in human consciousness that leads us to give up our sovereignty and thus become enslaved? My work's all been about that. All the previous videos are on knowledge of self. So no power to affect change lies here. Look at the symptoms all you want. You're not going to get anywhere. As a society, we have been conditioned to focus on effects in our world, which are ultimately symptoms of the problem. Okay, these problems go deeper than that. They go into consciousness, they go into psychology. It's like with the EFT stuff, you know. Many people, when they come for an EFT session, and I've gone to other practitioners, they have physical causes. And there's a brilliant video that shows, I'll have to link it. This woman had a physical problem in her knee, I think it was. She carried it for 20 years, right? When she started doing EFT on it, they got to the root cause, which was that she'd had this childhood trauma where her dad had basically abused her. Once she cleared the energy and what was trapped in her psyche from that abuse, her knee pain went away. So that's a perfect example of the physical pain was a symptom of the deeper cause, which was childhood abuse. So this is what's happening on a large scale. There is no power to affect change here. Then you've got the plane of causality. See what I did there? You got the barn or the house on fire, whatever it is. The cause is that match. Okay? You can't have fire without a cause, a match. The mental world, plane of causality. This is where human consciousness needs to go in order to understand the causal factors of the conditions that they are manifesting in their daily lives. This is where causes are set into motion prior to manifesting as formed realities. It is the ultimate question that must be asked, which is why? You know, why are humans in this state that we're in? Why are we giving up our sovereignty? Why are we enslaved? That's what I'm trying to get at in these videos and have done since day one. I'm not interested in the symptoms at all. And as I've said there, all power to affect change lies here, because once we change our thoughts and beliefs, it then filters through to the physical world. There you go, I've put it like that. Plane of causality, mental world, which is the why. All power to affect change lies here, thus this is where humanity must go. Underneath, the plane of effects, the physical world, the manifested reality. No power to affect change lies here, this is where human consciousness is trapped. And hopefully it's starting to wake up. because we've been stuck here for way too long, and we've got it backwards, and we need to reverse that. And I am seeing some signs of that, so we shall see. Gender, perfect, really nicely represented by the tarot card, the Lovers. There, I'm going to do a separate load of videos on tarot soon. I'll talk about that at the end. But yeah, gender is in everything. Everything has its masculine and feminine qualities, and gender manifests on all planes. As you can see there on the tarot card, you've got the female aspect on the left and the male aspect on the right. In the middle, you've got that being there. One thing that comes to my mind when I look at that is that being at the top is actually the mergence of the two at the bottom. Just an idea. That's what I love about tarot. It's so symbolic. When those two meet, you get harmony. And this slide, I put this was from episode 1, so it's quite weird how I've come full circle there. Everything has its masculine and feminine aspects. The left side of the brain, which is the masculine in nature, is all those things: analytical, logical, precise. The right side is the creative, imaginative, intuitive side. And as those two meet, they form a star, which is balance. That's what enlightenment is, people. It's the balancing of those two forces within the self. The 8th principle. This lost principle is the principle of care. What we care about is ultimately the driving force of our thoughts and actions. Therefore, it is the ultimate generator of the quality of our experience in life. This principle has often been known as the generative principle. The word generative is derived from the Latin verb generare, which means to create. Sadly, most people that walk this planet do not care enough to change the world through their actions, starting with them, sitting down, caring enough to change yourself so that manifests outwards, and then you change the world. As I've said, it starts with self. That's why all my other videos have been on self. Most people don't care enough, unfortunately. It's really sad. But I do, and that's why I do what I do. These are the natural law expressions. Again, this is not stolen, but borrowed from Mark Passio. So, like I've said, I'm going to use the mouse. Here we go. I've said before, haven't I? There's two forces at play: love and fear. Love is what we use. So this is the generative polarity, what we use to create. If you're in a state of love, you're in a state of consciousness. If you're in a state in fear, that is unconsciousness. So you will project your shadow, basically, onto others, and you'll live in ignorance. The initiating expression, how it starts: knowledge. So important to get the right knowledge, which is acceptance of truth. On the negative, it is ignorance, which is refusal of truth, what I spoke about at the beginning. The internal expression happens after this, which is what happens inside us. Sovereignty, which is internal monarchy. That's where we want to be. We want to be kings and queens of our own houses. Not outwardly. We don't need kings and queens on the planet. We need them inside. In the negative, you get confusion, which is internal anarchy, so no one's ruling. Now, anarchy is the state that needs to happen in the planet, but not inside of us. We need to rule our own house, okay? Because anarchy just means no rulers. The external expression, if you're coming from love, is freedom, which is external anarchy, what I just said. What happens in society? If you're coming through fear, control. Fear always leads to more control, which is external monarchy, kings, queens, governments, all that stuff. The manifestation. What is the end goal manifestation if we're coming from love? It is order. Manifested good, the result that we create. This is where we need to be. If we're coming at it from here, we end up with chaos, which is manifested evil. And that's what we've had for so long on this planet in the aggregate. Hopefully things will change. But they change with willpower. So, morality. A deep understanding of knowing the difference between right or wrong behaviour lies at the very heart of natural law. We've got to know what's right or wrong, and it's very, very simple to understand. I said that a while ago, didn't I? Natural law is so easy a child could understand it without even being taught it. In fact, actually, when I eventually stumbled across natural law, quite years ago now, and watched Mark Passio's video on it, all 9 hours of it, I might add, and I've watched it about 3 times. Um, I identified that I already knew this stuff because it's so damn easy to understand. And I knew it as a child. I had a deep understanding of it as a child. Sadly, most don't. But hopefully this will help putting this out there. Rights. Right. When most people think of rights, they think of man-made laws, which ultimately are wrong and change depending on which state or country you are in. Man's rights are nearly always wrong. True rights are inherited by nature. No one can give you a right. You are born with it. They apply to all sentient beings. When you're born, you are a sovereign. You come into the world a sovereign. You are not a slave, and your rights are inherent to all. They are inherited by nature. Thus, the saying, all men are created equal, means equal in rights, not how they are physically created. I've had so many people get that wrong. All men are created equal. No, not that guy was born with, a leg missing, an arm missing. He's not equal. It doesn't mean physically. It means equal in rights. Everyone has the same rights. All sentient beings. And that's not just humans. Sentient beings. All of them. The true definition of a right. Easy to understand. A right is any action that does not cause harm to another sentient being. That's it. How easy is that to understand? And as I put there, the truth, as I've previously said, is always simple to understand. It has been bastardised, perverted, and complicated by people who have put themselves in places of power and really shouldn't be, and actually have no right to be there. They have no... Because we're equal in rights, they have no right to, reign over anyone. Rights have been perverted by the laws of man, which are ultimately unnecessary in nature. Completely unnecessary. So, for instance, if someone wants to, do something that harms themselves, I don't know, like drink themselves into an absolute stupor and then throw up the next day and end up really sick, that's their right to do it. I might think it's a bad idea. It's not really a behaviour I would condone in, but they own their body, so therefore they have the right to do that. I don't have the right to say that they can't do that, because that's just wrong. Any action that does not cause harm to another sentient being is your right to take it while you're here. It's so simple to understand. Again, this is Mark Passio's slide. So, right. When it's right versus wrong. When it's correct, it is based in truth. When it's incorrect, it is not based in truth. A right is always moral, because it's in harmony with natural law. When it is a wrong, it is immoral, because it is in opposition to natural law. And the end result? So easy to understand a right from a wrong, because actions based in it do not result in harm to other sentient beings. If it's a wrong, actions based in it result in harm to other sentient beings. That's it. It's so simple to understand. No victim, no crime, basically. That's it. So these are the natural law transgressions. They're not... He sometimes calls them the natural law 7 deadly sins. They're not the same as the Bible ones, I might add you. Completely different. What a bastardisation of natural law that is. Right. Murder, assault, rape, theft, trespass, coercion, and lying. That's it. 7 actions. Never take those actions and you're living in harmony with natural law. Goes without saying. I mean, how simple is that to understand, really? And when you break them down, there's only one wrongdoing. As well as all these actions being harmful, they are also all forms of theft. Some form of property is always being stolen when a wrongdoing is committed. Because life is a form of property, rights are a form of property, and freedom is a form of property. When you murder someone, you are stealing that person's right to life. Literally. When you are assaulting someone, you are stealing their right to well-being, physical well-being. When you are raping someone, you are stealing that person's choice who they want to involve themselves with sexually. When you're stealing someone's stuff, that's stealing someone's shit that don't belong to you. That's obvious. Trespassing on someone's property, you're stealing their right to be safe. Coercion, I don't need to say these really, do I? Lying, talk about lying. You're stealing someone's right to the truth. But more important, well, just as important, if not maybe more important, is stop lying to yourself. That's what we need to do. Stop living in denial, you know? Do the shadow work. Do work on ourselves so we can be a truly moral human being. That's it. Force versus violence. Most people have been conditioned into thinking that force and violence are the same thing. The truth is that they are actually polar opposites of each other. Okay, that top image there, that's someone using force to smash those bricks through martial arts. In fact, martial arts is a great thing to get involved with. Really good way of how to use your body naturally and use the forces for self-defense, which we'll go on to talk about in a minute. That bottom one, probably an armed robber. That is violence. That's violence. They're not the same thing at all. Literally not. Force and violence. This is Mark Passio's slide. So force is the capacity to do work or cause physical change, energy, strength, and active power. If it's in violence, it's the immoral initiation of physical power to coerce, compel, or restrain another person or sentient being. Look at the middle one. Force, action, which is in harmony with morality and natural law because it does not violate other people's rights. If it's violence, it's coercive action, which is in opposition to morality and natural law because it involves the violation of others' rights. At the bottom, if it's force, the action which one always possesses the right to take, which includes defence against violence, which I'm going to talk about in a minute. And if it's violence, it's action which one never possesses the right to take. At all. At all. The right to defence. Human beings possess the natural right to defend themselves from violence with defensive physical force. A person who is accosted by violence possesses the right to stop the person who has conducted the violence from continuing to do harm to them with any amount of force necessary to stop that attack, up to and including deadly force. For instance, in this picture, it was hard to find a decent picture for this. That guy, let's just, hypothetically say that he's going to rob that woman at knife point. He's threatening her life. Maybe he's going to stab her if she doesn't give him what he wants. She's holding a gun. He doesn't know that. She has every right to shoot that bastard. Every right. And actually, if he doesn't stop, she has every right to take that person's life. That's the right to defence. And it's just so obvious to me. He broke natural law by trying to rob her. She's using self-defence by stopping that attack. Easy to understand. You get, in fact, I think he spoke about this in his video, but this always wound me up as well, because I've worked in schools on and off. And you get, when you get two kids that have had a punch-up or a little ding-dong, kids do that. And it used to really rile me up when both would be put in detention or both were made to suffer because of it, and that to do, because it doesn't matter who started it. Yes, it does. All that matters is who started it, because the first person that threw the punch is the one that broke natural law. The person that punched back, that was on the receiving end of that punch, is acting in defence. That's all that matters, is who started it. People could have arguments all they want. Words don't hurt. If you're hurt by words, you're on the wrong channel. You're on the wrong channel. People have arguments all the time. But as soon as a punch is thrown, natural law's been broken. It's obvious. All that matters is who started it. There you go. Right. The 2 pillars of enlightenment. So there's 2 of these. This one, the sacred feminine, is the non-aggression principle. The first pillar of enlightenment is the sacred feminine principle, also called the non-aggression principle. This principle states, do not engage in violence. So simple to understand. In other words, do not immorally initiate non-rightful use of physical power to coerce, constrain, or compel the rightful physical behaviour or free will choice of another sentient being. So easy to understand. So that's the feminine one. as you can see, a lot of things in natural law and sort of occult wisdom, they have a feminine and masculine. We also carry this right, which is the sacred masculine, the self-defense principle. The second pillar of enlightenment is the sacred masculine principle, also called the self-defense principle. This principle simply states sentient beings have the inherent right to use force to defend themselves from violence conducted upon them by another. There's both. A truly enlightened being understands both of these pillars and incorporates them into his or her psyche. Again, I've used the star in the middle there if you put those together. So, what is ownership? Ownership means to own a thing means that regarding that thing, an individual maintains rightful possession, control of its usage, and responsibility. And actually, if you really think about this all comes down to personal responsibility. I've said for a while that another big problem we have as a species is we don't take personal responsibility for our actions. That's just like psychological children to me. So, rightful possession. This computer that I'm working on, I own it because I bought it with my own money that I earned. So that means I possess this computer. No one has the right to steal it from me. I control its usage. I'm using this slideshow. I'm using OBS to control my voice, record my voice. I control its usage unless I allow someone to do it. That's different because that's by choice. Responsibility. I am responsible for its upkeep. Therefore, if it needs a new hard drive that one blows up, I'm responsible to replace that. No one else is. This is the same with all natural law. The main reason the world is in the state that it is in is because we don't deeply understand ownership and we continue to commit and condone theft. That's why ownership is so important to understand, because you own your body. And if you want to jack heroin into your body, that's your choice. It's not a good choice. I don't personally think that's a good idea. But you have the right to do it. No one has the right to claim the authority over you in that way. You know? If I want to go swimming in the sea, I have the right to do that because it's my body. If I want to put tattoos on myself, again, my choice, my body. It's so simple to understand ownership. Talk about the law of aggregate. I think I've mentioned this before, but in order for things to truly change on our planet, enough people must come to an understanding of natural law and live in accordance with it. Then, and only then, will things change for the better. The number needed to tip the scales is 51%. And that is why the powers that should not be, these dark occultists, that's why they keep the war machine running. Because every time there's a war, natural law is being completely obliterated all the time because people are taking lives that don't belong to them. You know, they understand these cosmic laws and they use them against us. But we need to grow up. Humanity really needs to grow up now and take personal responsibility. You know, then we'll get the world we want. A little bit on authority. I'm going to touch on authority in my next video, which is probably going to be the last one in this series. Natural law is the one and only authority. All other forms of authority are claims of authority and do not exist in nature. This is the same if you go to work and you have a boss who thinks that he has the right to push you around. No, he doesn't. Not in nature, he doesn't. He might hold that role, but it's a claim. He doesn't really have authority over you. These bastards in the White House don't have authority. And any parliament, government, that's why it's unnecessary. The only authority is natural law. Natural law is so simple to understand that it can be brought down to one rule consisting of 2 words, which is don't steal. That's how simple this is. If you really think about everything I've said, if you conduct your life without stealing, you are living in accordance with natural law. So simple to understand, a child could get it. And most children I meet, to be honest, in my work are more intelligent than most adults I meet, that's sad to say. But, you know, yeah, I really wanted to get to this stage and I'm glad I've got to it. I have one more video planned for the Consciousness Rising episodes, which is I'm going to go into root causes, why we are the way we are. I'm really going to try and really answer that question at a deep level. It won't be as long as this video, but that's my next one, and then this series will be concluded, because I think I've given enough to stew over for people to actually come to a really decent level of consciousness and apply these laws. You know, and then after that, I'm definitely gonna go back to doing EFT videos, because I think we really do need to work on ourselves first. I'm going to actually do some meditations that you can tap along with once I play with the software a bit more. So I'll be doing some more EFT videos, and then I'm going to start a new series up on tarot, and I'm going to talk about the tarot, how I use it, how you might use it. That's it, really. So I'm glad I got to this stage in my videos, and I hope you're all well. And I'll see you in the next one, guys. Take care. Bye.